On a Friday after our Sustainability and Resilience COVID conference at USF Patel College of Global Sustainability. And you can see that the top of the water column is between 110 and 111 Fahrenheit. At the very top, we've seen it vary a little bit. I've opened the lid up now, so we're losing a little bit of heat here. But it's sort of dancing back and forth. And if I drop it down, then it stays at 110, roughly goes down to 109. Ow, it's hot to put my hand in. That is hot. Wow. Hard to keep the hand in, but if I bring it down to as long as my arm can go, I start getting down into the 90s, 91, 89, down there, and that 80 water is about here. So down a couple inches down here. So we've got a good tank of hot water up here today. Up here at the top, we're, as we say, like 109, 108, 110. So for the bulk of it. So that's good. It's pretty similar to what we had at the other location. I'm going to have to put this in my hand now. Excuse the bad camera work, because I got to get down here, and that's pretty tricky. Up here, don't want to drop this cinder block on myself or fall in these flip-flops. So let me just get down here a second. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and we know the ambient temperature here. Let's, with the water on, like we did yesterday, see if we kept the cold water coming in as the hot water is coming out, what that would lead to. So here we got the water coming out. Let me place this inside here and open up the valve more fully. There we go. It's about the same as we had yesterday. So we're seeing 107 degrees, and it is now 2 minutes and 16 seconds in that we started it. So does it work or not? Yeah, sure it works. It works really, really well, as you can see. What we're testing is whether it's preferable to keep the cold water on so that as the hot water drains down, we know this entire area here is somewhere between 110 and 107. But as it drains down and uses up all the hot water, the float then goes down and then lets cold water in the bottom. And we want to see if one can just leave the water on all the time, which would be the preference, or whether that we lose so much as the cold water begins to replace the lost hot water that we're losing substantial heat. And so that's what we're trying to see in there. Because we do know from our other test that if we turn off the cold water and just drain down the hot water that's there, it stays at that hot temperature, about 107. That's what we were getting the other day. But while we're dropping the water level down, we're putting cold water through a pipe that goes from the top through the float valve and down to the bottom, and so it does add some cooling, so some of the heat goes into that pipe as the cold water goes down, and then it starts mixing as it rises up. So we tested this yesterday, but it was a variably cloudy day, so it was hard to compare with the other location. Now we're in an area where we get sun from about 10 to 5, and then you get the shading from that beekeeper's shed. And so we've determined it really doesn't matter if we try to place it here and catch this last few rays of sun. Within a half an hour, the shade is going to be well over here, and you can't keep moving it endlessly out into the field, because then you have too long a draw off into the shed where the clothes washer is for. And this is all being done to heat water for the baby's cloth diapers, so that we don't put any plastic into landfill. So the goal is heat the water with the sun with a hand-built solar hot water system, and then use that to wash the endless amounts of cloth diapers that our baby uses, and resist all those temptations that so many families have when they start this virtuous journey toward only cloth diapers, and then they get overwhelmed because of the labor involved and the sheer amount of washing you have to do. And One of the things is the cost as well of the heating. It could be electricity derived from fossil fuel or nuclear plants, or even solar electric. Resistance heating takes a lot of energy, whereas direct sunshine does not. It's just there and being wasted on those sunny days. So what we're seeing now is, yeah, certainly putting the cold water in does drop the temperature somewhat. I'm sort of confirming that from yesterday. It's still decent, but it would be nicer to maintain that 107 to 110 all the way down. So if this drops below 100, then I'm definitely going to turn off the cold water supply as I use the hot water, and it'll be running in a pipe from there through the window there and into the washing machine. And there's going to be some losses there as well, so every degree is going to count. And as of tomorrow, if Jeff and Liz are able to come out from the East Coast and we build the second solar panel, we'll either have that same temperature all the way throughout the tank, in which case it probably won't matter so much, or we will have a much hotter top layer. So we'll see how the stratification occurs with that. So that is just our goal, checking the practicality of this. Now it looks like we've dropped to 103. I got a fever of 103 because I'm hot-blooded. Check it and see. And so assuming that tomorrow is an equally sunny day, if it's clear skies like today, I'll just rerun this experiment, and then we'll know whether, and I'll do it with the cold water off and know whether it's really favorable to keep that cold water off, and then only when we're done using the hot water, fill the tank back up. The innovation we have is that the toilet float valve up at the top with that L pipe that goes down makes it so we can use barrels that are not pressure sealed, and we just loosely put the insulated lid on. And we developed that in Cairo some years ago, some decades ago actually, in Egypt. So yeah, so 102. So here's what I'll do now. It's once it hits 100, which is about my limit, it's still warm, but once it hits 100, I don't want to mix anymore. It's hit 100 now. So I'm going to go and turn off the cold water supply. And once I turn this off, now there's no more cold water replacing the hot water, and we shouldn't see this actually dip down below 100 anymore. In fact, it may actually rise because the top layer is probably still up near 107 to 110 degrees. Here's a solar, I couldn't see that last comment. Where are the comments here? My live chat. This might be, or use a solar hot water panel. This is a solar hot. This might be a bad time to do a live stream, dude. Why is this a bad time to do a live stream? Try heating your water with a Fresnel lens. I've tried that before. Fresnel lens, the big one that we had in Egypt, only heats an area the size of roughly a quarter to a 50-cent piece, and we put it on a copper pipe, and it's just a really poor way to heat water. But you can try it and see if that happens, and then or use a solar hot water panel. This is a solar hot water panel, unless you mean a solar electric panel, which is really inefficient. There's no point. We've done that as well. In fact, it's what we are doing, because this whole property, if you can see over the fence there, the whole property has photovoltaic panels, and I've got photovoltaic panels that we took down and they're going to put up right over here. So we have plenty of photovoltaic panels. That is not the issue there. No, it's hand building a flat plate solar collector, which works fairly well. And then what was the other comment? The other comment was, welcome to, oh no, it's welcome to live chat. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Some people only do live feeds when they feel they have perfected something, but I'm from the school of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, or even the bad. This is documenting for our group, so people around the world who are members of our group have access to this information, and we don't mind showing all the mistakes we make. In fact, we learn from each other's mistakes. We're not selling anything. We're not trying to change anybody. We're sort of just documenting what we do and sharing our results as we get them live, unadulterated, unedited. And it actually worked out exactly as I thought. So by turning off the cold water, we're now draining the hot water from the top, and the temperature is staying at the temperature that we saw the other day when we had the cold water off from the beginning. So we will now conclude from these tests that the way to use this solar hot water starting next week, when we have the second solar panel hooked up and we have a whole tank full of, I guess, 107, 108 degree hot water, is to keep the cold water supply off, use up this volume of water, and then it'll stop flowing, and then you're either done and you can't fill the tank anymore, or we'd turn on the cold water and let it push or lift the remaining hot water, if there is any, up and out. But it is evident that having the cold water on was having a bad impact on here. And I can demonstrate that again by going over and turning on the cold water. And I'm sure the temperature will drop as it fills the bottom and lifts it up, because it creates some mixing. So here we turn that on again, and we come over, and you see the water coming out at 107, now it's 105, now it's 104, now it's 103, now it's 100, now it's 99, and it's struggling, now it's 108, there's some mixing going on. Yeah, now it's really going down there, but it's bouncing around with the mixing. So there's some confusion as the cold water is coming up and meeting the hot water that's coming down. Yeah, 89, 86, way too cold. So let's get out of that and turn this off. So now with that off, we come back, we see we're at 83. That's 84, 85, 86. It's starting to jump up again, because now cold water's been turned off, and what's falling down is the remaining hot water from the top. Let's see if there's any hot water left at the top, or did we mix too much of it? Maybe not. Maybe we used all of it up, and which would be consistent. We're at 12 minutes, and normally we get about 12 minutes of hot water from that volume. Maybe I didn't turn it off fully enough. Whoopsie. Once again, there we go. Now it's fully off. But you don't get more than about 12 minutes from that top layer anyway. That's why you need the second solar panel. One solar panel just doesn't cut it for a tank this size. We determined that in Egypt years ago, and so we've always recommended that you have two panels of about 2 feet wide by 4 feet or 5 feet tall in order to get the temperatures you want for bathing or for washing. And we're just recreating these experiments here and just using the cheapest materials that are available here. So yeah, I think we've used up all the possible hot water that was in there. We're not going to see any further rise in that. Oh, actually, I spoke too soon. It just went up 1 degree. Not like that's a lot. Oh, up another degree. Went up another degree. Went up another degree. Oh my gosh. Okay, so maybe there is still some hot water in there. And this just demonstrates, no, it went down. It demonstrates that there's stratification in that tank. 86, 87. It's 96, 85, 84. Yep. 88, 87, go back down. Interesting to watch it sort of bounce its way up and down. But unlikely that there's going to be anything over 90 left in that tank. What I'm waiting for, oh, it did get to 90. So I'm waiting for the, 92, all right, 93. So we're getting that sweet spot, 94, where that top layer of water that was warmer was still on top of the cold that we'd forced in when we turned on the cold water. And even with my hand, I can feel now it's getting warm. Now it's bath temperature, and it wasn't a second ago. So I am like more and more convinced, do not leave the cold water replacement on at all. 95, 96. That's feeling better. 95. And that begs the question of the placement of this outflow pipe, because some people say, well, you should obviously put it at the top level where you get the hottest water. And then as you put in your cold water to replace it as it's used, it's just lifting the hot water above it and it's all coming out. And that may be true, but then if you turn off the cold water, then you get a few minutes of hot water and then it's below the outflow and then you get no water at all. If you put it too far at the bottom, then you don't get the whole thing heated and you think there's just cold water and you have to draw an enormous amount off before you get to, oh look, it's 98 now. Oh yeah, 97. So you don't want it at the bottom, and we found many Egyptian engineers who mistakenly put the outflow at the bottom of the tank so that it would gravity feed when the pressure was being cut in Cairo and the city, now at 99. And then in the winter they'd complain that it didn't work because it always stays dead cold at the bottom. It can be almost freezing down here and piping hot at the top, as we found when we went and visited the Bedouins up in St. Catherine Monastery area in the Sinai. And they said, oh, the solar hot water system here only works in the summer. And then I busted some pipes and opened it up and showed that there was, in the winter, piping hot water, burning, scalding hot water up at the top of this massive tank they had. And then there was dead cold, almost freezing water at the bottom. And so when people tried to take a shower, they were taking a shower with cold water and concluding that the system was not working. And so we got them to repipe it so that instead of coming out of the bottom, they took the solar hot water out near the middle like we do. And we tried doing it up at the top, but like I said, then you get a short shower if there wasn't any water pressure to fill the tank back up, and you'd be done, and then nobody could shower. And we had all these kids, about 50 kids from the Environmental Science Center visiting from Cairo, shivering there, expecting to have hot water with this Italian-made solar hot water system that they had. And they weren't getting any heat at all. So we replumbed it. And so this has been the compromise. So I'm showing now today that even if you have a cold water pressure supply to refill the tank, you probably should have it off until you've used up the solar hot water. And probably the ideal design would be to have a valve at the top and a valve at the middle, and use the valve at the top to get your hottest water and see if pushing cold water up to lift it works. But if you see any temperature change, then drop down to this and turn off the cold water supply. So that's the idea. But we're still at 105 now, and we're going on 20 minutes. So we'd have to subtract the minutes of water that was below 104, 304 fever temperature, and then we could figure out how many minutes we had. But I'll do that tomorrow just by turning the cold water off. I suspect that this location is better than where it was when I only got from 10 until 5. Here at this location I get from 9 until 5, but the sun from 9 to 10 really isn't that strong and doesn't do much, but it does seem to give me a few more minutes, and that could be crucial when you're washing with a washing machine with a big load. So there we are. Now it's at that 107 that we observed the other day. It's probably just going to stay at 107 right down until the flow stops. That's my suspicion of what's going to happen. And really I should have this, it is going in the biodigester, but this can be used to heat your biodigester as well, which is why we built it like this, which actually is sitting on top. Instead of building a separate stand, you use your IBC tank biodigester to hold the panel and hold the tank. And then you can derive some warmth. Oh, I saw it go up to 108. It did go up to 108. Look at that. So we're obviously getting near the very top of this, the hottest water, and the trickle is slowing down. But clearly 109. All right, we must be getting to the very top layers. It's like the top layers are coming all the way down here. And if we see 110, we'll be pretty sure that we're running out of water. Because that's the way water stratifies, that thermocline. But I can't wait until we get the other panel up tomorrow with Jeff and Liz's help. All right, almost done. The trickle's coming out. Because then we'll run this pipe over to there. Of course, the next thing we need to do is figure out the volume of hot water that we have. Now it's gone up to 109, nearing the end. We know from when I stood up there that the top was at 110, 111, so it can't get any hotter than that. That would be physically impossible. $109. And the nice thing about working out in the garden, putting it into one of the biodigesters, is that the overflow is fertilizer, so you're not wasting anything, you're irrigating with the overflow. And once we add it to the washing machine, the soaps and detergents we use will add nutrients to the garden. So it's a closed loop system that we're trying to create. The open end of it is the sunlight shining in, and the heated water is being used for washing and picking up nutrients and then growing plants. Circular economy stuff. And this is a tank that keeps on giving. It never seems to end. It must be coming to an end now. Still 109. Still crazy after all these minutes. So we're at 23 minutes. And like I say, we'd have to subtract the time when we had the cold water going in. But I think this location is better than the other one for the system. We shall see. Now it went up to 110. Okay, whoop, you didn't see that, but I saw it flip from 109 to 110 just a second ago. That means we are at the very top of the water column. Let's see if we hit, there it is, 110, see it? 110, 109, 110, we're at the top. It's fascinating to look at thermocline, to look at water stratification and see how the heat piles up if you don't mix it. And you all know it from a swimming pool. You're very familiar with it from a lake where the top can be very warm and then right underneath it can be dead cold. You know it from scuba diving too. But many people who build solar hot water systems don't plumb them right because they don't understand the stratification of water. There it goes to 110 again. 110 is very good. It's nice hot water. Very hot water. Goes back to 110 now, 109. But having 20 minutes or even 15 minutes, but it looks like we're probably having 20 minutes of water between 107 and 110 Fahrenheit from a single panel. That's That's nice. That is nice. Seems to be staying consistently at 100. Now it's back to 109. But you can also tell that the trickle is getting lower because it used to be falling here and now it's falling there, so it's much weaker. And that should be about it. Once it hits that white pipe, it's usually indicating that it's done. But it's, you know, usually when you're taking a shower, it's the last couple minutes when the hot water runs out. Here, the last couple minutes are the hottest, which is sort of backwards from what people expect. The last couple of minutes at the hottest shower, so there's something to be said for that. Something to be said for that. Consistently at 110. One thing I think I'm learning from this, however, is that maybe we shouldn't worry so much about adding the cold water because it didn't seem to disturb the top layers of the hot water. But that's about all I got time for now, so let me hang this up. Let me end this.